Very quickly, let me end on what it looks like here in the UK. So, it doesn't look bad, is the honest answer. We are the only country in the world that has something like the Climate Change Act. No other country has a statutory instrument of that kind, which imposes binding targets on whichever government it is that's in power. And happily, this government is taking the Climate Change Act and its targets as seriously as the preceding government. Other governments around the world look on in absolute astonishment that we've got something like this. They really do. They think this is just an astonishing thing to have achieved. We have our feed-in tariffs. We eventually got to them after a long time of many, I was about to say generations, I don't quite mean that, but cohorts of dogged civil servants in different parts of government telling us that feed-in tariffs were a completely ineffective way of helping to support the growth of renewable energy in the UK. Full marks to Ed Miliband when he became Secretary of State in the newly created Department of Energy, which Gordon Brown created. He kept asking his civil servants, he said, so why haven't we done feed-in tariffs? You don't need them, Secretary of State. We've got this wonderful approach to renewables. We're absolutely doing brilliantly. Feed-in tariffs, that's the kind of provenance of those crazy Germans and mad profligate Spanish. We do it very differently. And Ed Miliband, gently to start with, and then rather more robustly, kept pointing out, well, how is it that we are third from the bottom of the Renewable Energy League table, with only countries like Malta and Luxembourg below us? And he sent his civil servants packing, and he said, if you can't bring me anything more serious than that, I am going to go ahead with feed-in tariffs, whether you like it or not. A little bit of decisiveness, just saying a nice word for Ed Miliband, since no one seems to be able to find one these days. So we've got feed-in tariffs. We've also got the renewable obligation story, and this is a bit of an interesting mismatch. Do we need both ROCs and feed-in tariffs? Who knows? The industry says we does. I'm not sure what the government thinks about it, but you may hear more about that in due course. We have the carbon reduction commitment for energy efficiency, which was to have been a trading scheme, essentially, which got converted into a carbon tax, £12 a tonne. I tell you what, it's pissed off a hell of a lot of organisations across the UK who thought they were all doing so well on their energy efficiency programmes that, yes, they'd have to buy their allowances, but guess what? They were so brilliant, they'd get it all back again because they'd have been in the top half of the league, you see, and they were all kind of shining up their green halos, aren't we going to be good, etc., etc. And then the government just says, nah, sod it, that's all much too complicated. I'll tell you what, we'll just take it all. We'll take the whole lot into the Treasury to help the public finances. And there are a lot of organisations who are suddenly looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million pounds on their P&L that they did not expect. This has caused quite a ripple, but for me, at last, we've started to get serious about this. We have the Green Deal, which was announced 10 days ago. This is the first big retrofitting initiative to deal with our deplorable housing stock here in the UK. Our existing housing stock will come in 2012. Interesting measure. We have a promise of a renewable heat incentive initiative coming in next year, 865 million. And we have something, or we have the promise of something called the Green Investment Bank. That should make all entrepreneurs here in this room and elsewhere feel really good. Until I tell you that Treasury is intent on killing it stone dead. This is an unbelievable story that not many people get access to, which is the Treasury is still implacably hostile to really making policy work for low-carbon innovation here in the UK. Chris Huhne had to fight, literally, our new Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, fight every single inch of the way in the run-up to the Comprehensive Spending Review to keep Treasury at bay. Treasury did not want the use of the word bank, because basically they like to think they control the banks now, which of course they do since we own most of them. They did not want it capitalized in such a way that it would have its own balance sheet, so as to leverage in private sector finance, and they wanted it managed at the lowest possible level. So Chris Huhne won that battle. He lost the battle on the level of capitalization. He'd pressed for capitalization of £6 billion. Treasury pushed him down and down and down to a start level of £1 billion to capitalise a new bank. Talk to anyone in the private sector today and they will tell you that's a joke. not least because they know that Treasury is still out to kill this. And when Treasury gets something into their head, they often get their way. So we're not doing badly, is the best summary I can give you. It's okay relative to what other countries are doing, but it still doesn't look like the completely coherent policy toolkit we need to press on down this road towards our targets, our 2020, 2030, 2050 targets, and make this a truly upbeat agenda, which is all about innovation, jobs, skills, new opportunities, different ways of seeing how technology can underpin a better society. We still haven't got that feeling here in the UK, which is a bit problematic. So you can see why bad science, and what I call the scourge of denialism, have got a lot to answer for. Because they're part of the reason why politicians are not more excited by this agenda, not more upbeat about it, are very reluctant to take it out to people and talk about it in a way which would make them feel good about it. So we're stuck in this rather miserable debate about the science, which is now affecting the quality of political engagement and policy innovation. Problematic times, but I suppose you could say we are moving in the right direction. Nudging in the right direction. Right, I will stop there to have a chance for some discussion. Thank you.